inside the O2 Arena in Berlin. 14,000 people. It's a sellout. Stieglitz, Robert Stieglitz, the champion. Born in Russia, based in Germany. Art Abraham, born in Armenia. Loved in Berlin. There's a man singing at the moment, you can see him. There's some guys at ringside from the movie Inglourious Bastards. Okay, it's a big night. Abrahams will be coming to the ring soon. I'm going to hand you over to our commentary duo. They've had their chips. They've had their vitamin drinks. It's Barry Jones, the former WBO Super Featherweight champion, who likes to point out that he's Welsh, but he's not from Barry. And then the other man, the first voice you'll hear, is our man from the seas, the seven seas, the BBC, voice of sailing, and now our commentator tonight, it's Rob Walker.
Thank you, Steve. As Eye of the Tiger is sung with intent here, the O2 Arena in Berlin is absolutely banged out, and here we go with the headline act, the main event. They are calling this the last chance. Can King Arthur, the supreme middleweight, unseat Robert Stieglitz from the WBO Super Middleweight title he's held since August 2009? 6 times the 31-year-old has defended the title, but many would argue Abraham, looking cool and calm as he walks to the ring, will be his biggest test to date. This is the former IBF middleweight champion. He won his first 31 fights. He's been victorious in 11 of his 13 world bouts, but the 2 defeats have both come at super middle. A man famed for defending his IBF crown with a broken jaw back in 2006. That endeared him to the hearts of his adopted nation in Germany and this, his adopted city. Anyone who was outside the arena has made their way in. The atmosphere is absolutely rocking here. He's got the heart, he's got the substance, but can he make the step up and become a 2-weight champion? Is tonight the night that he finally conquers the brand of the super middleweights? He was absolutely imperious at middleweight. He's not a classical boxer, he's all power. And Robert Stieglitz will provide a huge test for him this evening. He says every fight from here on in really is last chance saloon. He will have the overwhelming bank of support here from a glittering Berlin arena. He's in the ring, he can smell the contest, but now is his moment to deliver. Is it Johnny Vegas? Well, I'm not sure, but he certainly gets the applause. Every single person in this arena is on their feet. People are saying this is a night teed up for Arthur Abraham, the former IBF middleweight champion, with a record of 73% wins by KO. But Robert Stieglitz is the current holder of the WBO Super Middleweight title. This would be his 7th defense. He's won 42, 23. He's had spells at light heavy, and Abraham has stepped up to super middle. His opponent tonight will believe he has the advantage in power and experience, but Stieglitz has an impressive work rate and will want to stop Arthur Abraham from getting into any kind of rhythm whatsoever. Barry, Abraham, 27 KOs in 34 wins. Stieglitz has got to be wary, as DJ Oatsy, who had that hit with Hey Baby in the UK a few years ago, enjoys his moment in the spotlight. But Stieglitz has got to be wary of Abraham.
Oh, most definitely. Abraham's as fearsome as they come, isn't he? And obviously, one of Stieglitz's losses was against Limbrado Andedri, whatever his name is, excuse my language. But he's in the same ilk as Abraham, isn't he? So, but I just think that Andrade is a lot bigger than Abraham is, and I'm hoping that Stieglitz can fend him off. I think Stieglitz is a good boxer, and I just fancy him to win. But Abraham's tough and dangerous, and you can never count him out, because he'll keep throwing punches to his last breath.
What an emotional moment for the Germans assembled. The national anthem played and sung with pride. What an occasion, what a reception for both boxers, and what a night to be involved in the sport. These are the occasions that these men have dreamt of their entire careers. As we continue the build-up with our smooth MC, it's worth taking note that the disqualification and 2 other defeats that Arthur Abraham has encountered at super middle have all come abroad. He is undefeated in Germany, and tonight he returns to the scene of that great 12th round triumph over Jermaine Taylor. That looked as though it was going to set the scene for a fabulous career at super middle, but he has run into problems since then, although he's won his last 2. George Groves has made some interesting comments in the lead-up to this fight. The British and Commonwealth super middleweight champion, who was due to fight Stieglitz in May, but nose damage prevented that. Groves says with Stieglitz, it's all about the work rate rather than the flair. Can he overwhelm Abraham with a barrage of punches by playing the percentage game? Equally, Groves has said if Stieglitz unleashes the beast in Arthur Abraham, he is in line for problems. There is Arthur Abraham, stepping from side to side. He has been here in showdowns 13 times before and been victorious on 11 occasions. Utterly imperious at middleweight. Is this his last chance to step up and show the world he can be a 2-weight champion?
King Arthur Abraham.
A massive roar, Barry, and if anyone was in any doubt as to who was on home turf, Stieglitz is aware that it is Abraham who will carry the cheers of the crowd with him.
Well, it certainly is a big ask for Stieglitz, isn't it, to come into Abraham's backyard. No, it's bad enough fighting the legend himself, but fighting him at home in front of this joyful crowd, really looking forward to seeing Abraham put on a show, expecting him to win big. So, you know, it's going to be an exciting fight, and I'm looking forward to it. I think Abraham's going to give it his all. I think Stieglitz might be up to the challenge, but we'll see.
This is why it has been billed as such a close contest. A real cauldron atmosphere around the O2 Arena here in Berlin. And it's worth noting that apart from a 5th round TKO against Acosta in January a couple of years ago, all of Stieglitz's fights for the WBO at Super Middle have gone at least 10 rounds. He has a history and a habit of grinding people down with that percentage game that George Groves had done some homework on before the fight that never was for him back in May. And I wonder if George Groves is watching tonight, whether he's thinking about the possibility of taking on one or two of these guys. Here we go then, the WBO Super Middleweight title fight. Robert Stieglitz in the red trunks, the defending champion, going for a 7th time at maintaining the illustrious and prestigious belt, and Arthur Abraham, the challenger, looking for his first world title at Super Middle. Has he got the power? Has he got the hunger? And can he stop Stieglitz from playing the percentage game? Everyone else has stepped out of the ring. We have our 2 boxers, we have our referee Joe Cortez, and we have an awful lot of noise from 14,000 people packed into this arena for the climax of the evening, and what could be a historic moment and a great night for German boxing.
Well, I think the key for the success for Stieglitz is to move to his right. He needs to be plenty mobile. He needs to keep moving away from that big clubbing right hand of Abraham. There it is there. Just caught Stieglitz with it there, but that's Abraham's danger punch. And he needs to keep moving to the right to keep away from that. But he needs to be plenty mobile tonight, throw punches in bunches, and keep turning Abraham if he can. Because Abraham will walk him down. And that was good work there from Stieglitz, just to throw punches in bunches, nice combinations. Just doesn't need to stay there after he's thrown his shots.
And the way he boxes is the percentage game, isn't it, Barry? He's happy if 5 or 6 out of the 10 are slaps, as long as he connects with 3 or 4 and he backs off before Abraham has a chance to punish him with power. He's going to be happy to play that card.
Well, yeah, and it's a good tactic, because Abraham likes to cover up, let you unload, and then he comes back with his own. So you need to throw your punches in combinations and then move off to the side or spin off to the side. Just don't go back in straight lines, because Abraham will follow. But when you're in the position they're in now, he needs to be just taking a little step to his right, keep away from that dangerous clubbing right hand of Abraham's. And Abraham's, well, he'll do what he does always, won't he? Just me moving forward, hands high, taking in the punishment, and then producing his onslaught.
When he moves forward and goes in for a punch, he is electric to watch. He's still got it.
Yeah, he probably is. He really is made for TV kind of fighter, isn't he? You know, exciting to watch. You know, he takes a few shots, but he don't half give his own back, doesn't he? He really, really, you know, he's a fighter to his soul. He loves the game. And you can see there's a menace about him, isn't it? He really wants to hurt that guy. Just doesn't want to win. He wants to hurt you.
32 years of age, Arthur Abraham. Has he still got the belief that there are more glorious chapters to come in a career that has already delivered much glitter and glamour and praise, not just in Germany, but across the world as well? Marco Huck next to Hernandez. Everyone who is anyone is here and watching and enthralled by this contest. Little wry smile on the face of Arthur Abraham. Hugely experienced, not overawed by this whatsoever. And his trainer, Uli Wenger, believes that this fight is about levels, and he says Stieglitz does not have the one required to dance with Arthur Abraham. Well, pretty cagey in the first round, Barry.
Well, I think Abraham's corner will be happy with his work. You know, he caught Stieglitz with some good shots, and it was a more positive start than what we're used to seeing from Abraham. He's usually a slow starter. He started there at a decent pace. There wasn't much to split him, and I think maybe, just maybe, edged towards Abraham. But it was a very, very close round, but it's a good start for Abraham. Stieglitz needs to stay more mobile on the balls of his feet, bouncing in and out. Give Abraham a few problems, draw him on with his shots, and then counter back with his sharp shots himself.
Certainly no doubting Arthur Abraham's heart as Stieglitz moves forward now and tries to become the aggressor in the early stages of this second round. And he's got Abraham where he wants him at the moment. This is a better second round from Robert Stieglitz than we saw from him in the first. Maybe just taking a few moments to settle down in this bout, but he's got the belief, and he's really turning it on here. These are great exchanges. The hands are low. He's ready to come in. This is much better from him, and suddenly he's boxing with belief.
Yeah, he's doing well, isn't he? He's throwing some nice punches, then taking that step forward there, just to not give Abraham any rest. He just has to be careful not to get drawn into a fight too much. You know, he's hit with some crisp shots. You don't want to get drawn into a fight with Abraham. You don't want to get caught, you know, coming in as he did there. Maybe just throw your shot, take a little step away. You're happy you've caught your combinations. You'll always have the hand speed to beat Abraham to the punch, and that's what he needs to be doing. But it's a good positive start to this second round.
Such a difficult man to box against, Arthur Abraham, because as we've seen, Stieglitz has come in with some really good blows, but it only takes one savage body shot from Abraham to put his opponent in trouble. But Stieglitz really positive here, putting Arthur Abraham under pressure in this second round. He is the champion, and he is determined to teach Abraham a lesson in his own backyard.
Well, he's doing all the right things, isn't he, Stieglitz? He's not, you know, he's not taking too many chances now after the initial onslaught. He's throwing fast combinations and just taking a little step away to the side. Boxing well. You know, Abraham's going to stalk him down like he is now. As long as you see plenty mobile, you're always going to have a chance to get your shots off first with Abraham. You don't worry about hurting him, just worry about connecting.
But there's the response from Arthur Abraham. The warrior within rises to the challenge with just about 30 seconds left in this second round. There's no lack of pace here. A little bit standoffish in the first round, but this is world-class toe-to-toe boxing. And these two guys are going to deliver great value for money this evening. We've already had a pretty stellar undercard, but this is the headline act. And it is so far delivering a great contest.
Yeah, they both landed with good right hands there, didn't they? I just think Stieglitz had the better of that round. His punches were cleaner, crisper and sharper, and he landed more of them. But that's what we expected from him, and that's what we expect from Abraham, to keep coming forward. So it's living up to the fight we expected.
Well, by my reckoning of your scorecard, it's roughly one each at the moment, but the pace these two guys are producing, you would not bet against somebody finishing this inside the allotted 12 rounds.
Well, it's a sort of fight, isn't it, where Abraham, you know, will make Stieglitz do a lot of work and then come on in the later rounds. I just have a little feeling that Abraham doesn't have that same aura around him at the super middleweight. He hasn't got that same physical presence as he has at the middleweight.
Big body shot, yeah, big body shot there from Robert Stieglitz on Abraham, and everyone could feel that one. Round three, just about honours even. Robert Stieglitz performing with much more positivity in that second round. And look at this at the beginning of the third. Once again, it's the title holder on the attack, and it's the challenger having to hang on a little tiny bit, biding his time, waiting to strike what he hopes will be a killer blow. But Stieglitz is boxing really well at the moment.
His tactics are very good, aren't they? He's boxing in spurts, knowing he has to get an early lead against Abraham because he comes on strong, but also knowing he has to keep a bit of energy in reserve because he knows he's going to need it later on in the fight. So he's boxing in spurts, he's throwing his punches in 3s and 4s and moving around now, but Abraham's not landing either, so he's not taking any shots, he's not losing the round because he's throwing his punches in combinations, then moving away and taking a rest. So it's good tactics so far from Stieglitz.
Some wild exchanges now, and Stieglitz still on the front foot. Abraham is soaking up a lot of pressure here, and this is going to be an exhausting way for him to ply his way through this contest. They might not all be hurting, but there is a lot getting through onto Abraham from Stieglitz at the moment, and we're not seeing a great deal back from the former IBF middleweight supreme champion.
Well, this is vintage Abraham, isn't it? Just to keep coming forward, absorb the shots, take the punishment. I just think how much better would he be if he moved his head? You know, just avoided a few of those shots and still kept coming forward. I think he'd be a much better fighter for it. But he has his tactics, he knows what he's doing.
But at some stage, it is a tactic that he's familiar with, and it's brought him great acclaim in the past. But at what stage, Barry, does he start thinking about trying to take that positivity back to Stieglitz? Or does he continually soak it up and keep on and on waiting for an opening and a chance to hammer him with a body shot?
Yeah, I think he has an eye, doesn't he, for a tired-in fighter. I think Abraham, he knows when they're getting tired. That's when he jumps on you. I just think at this super middleweight division, I think he hasn't maybe got it quite right. But Stieglitz is boxing well at the moment. He's still speeding through those jabs and those right hands. And I think the straight punches are the key for him. Just keep throwing those straight speeding punches down the middle.
It was teed up so interestingly, this bout, because although Stieglitz is the champion, as Steve Bunce and the rest of the guys in the studio were saying, Stieglitz will be aware that this was a night that has been teed up for Arthur Abraham, the challenger coming in as the favourite. But Stieglitz has the confidence of knowing he's defended this title 6 times before. A big right there, putting Abraham under pressure. But this is the one, and this is the name that Stieglitz believes he has to overtake in order to open the door to the likes of Jermaine Taylor, Andre Ward, Carl Froch, Kessler. He has to beat a big name to take himself up into the next stage, and it's the man, Arthur Abraham, that he's got to overcome.
Well, this is definitely the fight, isn't it? That Stieglitz, it will elevate him, as you said, into the elite of the super middleweight division. It's a big name he's been wanting and asking for. But for Abraham, this is a no-lose fight. He can't lose against Stieglitz, who is a good fighter, but he's not a marquee name. And if Abraham still wants to be getting the big paydays and be involved in those fights, he needs to win this fight. But it's early days in an Abraham fight, and anything can happen, and that's another round for Stieglitz for me.
So Barry Jones, the former world champion, has got this 2 rounds to 1 at the moment for Stieglitz. And still, we've yet to see the beast within, as George Groves described it, from Arthur Abraham. The punishment can come, and he is a patient man, hugely confident despite the knocks he's taken at super middle. But can he produce it when it's required? Stieglitz is still playing the percentage game, and now they're really going toe-to-toe. This is fantastic to watch. No quarter asked, no quarter given. 2 proud men with the eyes of a nation upon them.
Some nice right hand over the top there from Stieglitz. It's a good shot. I hope Stieglitz doesn't need to get carried away too much, though. He's landing with good shots, and it's good work. Don't get carried away, because Abraham will suck you in and make you pay.
Abraham is more than capable of going the distance. The 2 super middle bouts he lost, both went all the way, so he has got the stamina. He's not just a one-shot pony in the 4th or 5th. But you just get the feeling by the body language and the manner in which this fight has unfolded thus far that Stieglitz is so hungry to prove something to everyone here tonight. He is fighting like the challenger, not the man holding the belt.
Well, this is without doubt the biggest fight of Stieglitz's life, isn't it? You know what I mean? This is the fight. If he wins this fight, he's right up there with all of them. But it's the early days yet. You know, I picked Stieglitz to win, and he is winning the fight, and he's boxing very, very impressively. But because it's Arthur Abraham, it could be still anyone's fight.
You're quite right, Barry. Until the final bell rings, if we get to a 12th, you never know how or when Abraham can unleash a huge volley. And he's rallying here a little bit in the last minute of the 4th. Now he's trying to be more positive, trying to take it towards Stieglitz. He won't like necessarily the fact that his younger opponent who holds the title has a little bit of an edge at the moment. He'll want to send a message to him as we get towards the last 30 seconds of the fourth round that he's here to take Stieglitz's title. The crowd are responding. They can sense that Abraham is finding something different from what we've seen so far.
Well, Abraham come back, didn't he, with some nice little barrage of punches. That clubbing right hand has played dividend for him because it looks like Stieglitz has a little lump over his left eye, I think.
This is a much better finish to the round from Arthur Abraham. This contest is far from over. Stieglitz has worked very hard, but beware that big right hand from Arthur Abraham. He does have the reputation, and he has it for a reason. How do you score that one then, Barry?
Well, it was a hard one to score, but I give it even. I think Stieglitz started off very, very well, again with the combinations, but Abraham come back well with some hard clubbing shots. Definitely landed with the more powerful shots of the round. And I'd like to see a Stieglitz corner, yet he does have a lump over his left eye, and that might cause him problems.
Yes, that does look like it's required a little bit of treatment. It doesn't look as though it's opened up just yet, but that could bring an added twist of drama to this bout, which is now more than a third of the way through. Round 5, the WBO Super Middleweight title fight. Two proud men in their adopted country. Robert Stieglitz, desperate to open up a new level of opponent. And he's got to take down Arthur Abraham, who's playing a few games here. He's dropped his shoulders, he's dropped his hands, and he's inciting Robert Stieglitz to come in for more. Mind games from the hugely experienced former middleweight champion. Arthur Abraham trying to impose his personality as well as his power on the middle sections of this bout.
Yeah, he wants Stieglitz in a war, doesn't he? He wants him to get confident, or maybe overconfident, so he can land with that right hand again. But Stieglitz did the right thing. He darted in, threw a few punches, darted out again, didn't fall to the bait of what Abraham was trying to do. So, you know, he's still got his faculties about him at the moment, and he's boxing well. But as we said, with Abraham, this is his sort of fight, isn't it? He wants you to wear yourself out, throw lots of punches.
I wonder at what stage, Barry, the question marks will start being asked of the stamina of Robert Stieglitz. It's a tactic that seems to be working for him at the moment, but he is throwing an awful lot of punches to play the percentage game, and at some stage, surely, he will begin to feel the effects of fatigue.
Well, you know, I think Stieglitz is boxing well, but it's a much faster start for Abraham than I've seen maybe ever. You know, I got Stieglitz winning by a couple of rounds, but you could easily have it level, couldn't you, if you give the last round to Abraham? So, you know, it's still a close fight. I think Stieglitz is winning and boxing well, but Abraham's had a better start than what you would expect, and that would only be ominous signs for Stieglitz later on in the fight.
He is mesmeric, Arthur Abraham. He may not be winning on points at the moment, as you've alluded to, Barry, but you just can't take your eyes off him for a second, because you never know when he's going to unleash something hugely powerful and destructive. He is menacing in that ring, and he is desperate to become a two-weight champion in front of a packed house. And now they start to roar, and Stieglitz is tasting the power from Arthur Abraham from the left and the right.
Yeah, he's just can't get out of the way of the punch at the moment, can he, Stieglitz? His problem is he doesn't have no lateral movement, and he's moving to his left, which is falling right into Abraham's hands, but he's throwing that big right hand over the top and landing with it far too frequent than I would have thought at this stage of the fight. So it's a good round by Abraham. He's pouring on the pressure at the moment.
This is one of the best spells we've seen from Arthur Abraham in this bout. And remember, this is a guy who beat Wayne Elcock in 2007, and the Briton said the lights just went out. That is how his power can affect some of his opponents. That was at middleweight, now it's super middle, but that was a much better round for Arthur Abraham, and Stieglitz had a reminder there that he really needs to watch out, because when Abraham's on the front foot, he's irresistible.
Well, Abraham, that wasn't just a winning round, that was a big winning round, wasn't it? There, oh, right flush, that wasn't even a clubbing right hand, it was a nice straight orthodox right hand. And again with that body shot, you know, he really digs those shots in, doesn't he? Throws his body into those punches, very accurate with it. And Stieglitz just can't get out of the way. His feet are not fast enough to get him to move back and move around to the right. And he's marking up early on in the fight. It's not good signs for him.
Yes, we'll need to keep our eye on the bump and the cut above Stieglitz's left eye to see whether it does indeed play a part in this bout. You can see as the camera zooms in to ringside, it is absolutely packed here in Berlin. An amazing atmosphere, and it is still too close to call. Now we're into the 6th round, the WBO Super Middleweight title, and whichever way it goes, tonight's win will be hard-earned by either man if they become victorious. Stieglitz needing to reassert himself a little bit here after Abraham dominated the 5th round, still playing the percentage game. He doesn't land as powerfully as Arthur Abraham, but he wants to peg his man back. This is his 7th title defence, and as the crowd start to roar once again for Arthur Abraham, Robert Stieglitz is keen as we get towards the halfway point of this bout to reassert himself on this fight and take himself to the next level for the Taylors and the Wards and the Kesslers and the Frotches.
Well, Stieglitz, I thought he would be massively ahead by this point of the fight, and then I thought around round 5-6, Abraham would start to turn it round. I don't think Stieglitz has had a big enough lead up to this point, and I think, you know, he's boxing well in this round, but Abraham's just stalking him down again, playing that waiting game. It looks like he's having a round of offense and then a round of tiring the fella out, it seems, at the moment, and Abraham's doing better at this point than I thought he would.
He just landed again, and once again takes the front foot, not throwing anywhere near the same quantity of punches as Stieglitz, but when he connects, you can really feel the power in the arms of Arthur Abraham. Just about a minute to go here in the 6th. It's been a little bit more cagey than we had in the 5th. Perhaps, Barry, you're right, maybe Abraham is playing round offensive, round defensive to try and get himself into a position where if it goes towards 12, he's still got enough in the tank to pull off something special.
Without a doubt, Abraham will have enough in the tank. He's a fitness fighter. But Stieglitz is throwing enough punches as we thought he would. He's just too easy to hit, isn't he? I didn't think he'd be this easy to hit. He's just caught with 2 cracking right hands there, Rob.
Yes, Abraham really connected there. And Stieglitz now plays his own little bit of mind games. You could see him there beckoning Arthur Abraham on. So 2 can play that game, says Robert Stieglitz, but Abraham is connecting with some big blows here, and Stieglitz will welcome the corner as we get towards 10 seconds to go. It's still anyone's fight, this. So fascinating, so delicately poised, and something has got to give. When will it be, and who will he?
Again, another round of Stieglitz doing all the work in the early half of the round, throwing all the punches, boxing well. And then in the last 30-40 seconds, Abraham coming on very strong. No, I give that round to Stieglitz. But you could see why a lot of people would get that round to Abraham, because, you know, he's playing that game where he's stealing. He could be stealing the rounds in the last 30 seconds with his more eye-catching work. And you remember the last few combinations, but Stieglitz did the majority of the work in that round. So for me, it's a Stieglitz round.
So on your scorecard, Stieglitz has it by a couple at the moment, but it is still very close, and the corner giving a lot of attention to that left eye of Robert Stieglitz, and Abraham was definitely targeting that. So we've had 6 rounds, we're into a 7th. Can Arthur Abraham produce the knockout blow or body shot to reduce Robert Stieglitz's dreams of a 7th successful defence. He's bidding to become a 2-weight champion, which is no mean feat. He's experienced all the highs of being a middleweight, Arthur Abraham, but this journey through Super has not been quite so smooth, but he still believes there's another chapter of glory in this long career.
Well, the good thing about Abraham is that he won't be panicking, will he, at the moment? Though he's been in this position before where he's been down. He's been further down than this in fights, haven't he, and come back to win on points and knock the guy out. And you can see he does have the power at this weight against Stieglitz to possibly get a stoppage. But if Stieglitz just keeps on his balls of his feet like he is now, throwing punches, springing out the range, but he needs to come out a different angle than he came in. At the moment, he's moving out the same angle.
Another little flurry there from Stieglitz. He seems to get himself in a corner, and then all of a sudden he comes back with a barrage. But no sooner has he offloaded onto Abraham than it's come back the other way. But that one rocked Arthur Abraham. This is absolute toe-to-toe here, and both men are giving it everything in this round.
Yeah, it was a good little exchange of punches on him, and to be fair to Stieglitz, he stood his ground. Not very advisory, but he stood his ground anyway. I think Abraham was maybe more off balance than hurt, but he still got caught. And now he knows he's in a fight. It's living up to all the hype, isn't it, at the moment?
Two different techniques, two different styles, but only one can be victorious. And Abraham looked as though he'd rocked Stieglitz there. But the title holder has taken a lot of punishment in this round, but he's also flurried inside the final minute of the 7th round. And it is so tough to call.
It is. I think this round, at the moment, Abraham just cannot miss Stieglitz with that right hand. And it's such a worrying sign. I think that's what's giving him the edge in this round at the moment.
Robert Stieglitz, in his heart of hearts, knew that he may well have to absorb a lot of punishment to be victorious this evening, and that is the case. And Abraham can smell the fact that his rival is slightly on the back foot in this round. He is so good at judging these late flurries in each of the rounds. He's a wily competitor, and he's showing all his experience here to stay in this fight, Arthur Abraham.
And no little skill either, Rob. He just jumped in with a lovely 1-2 left-hook combination.
Wilfred Sauerland at ringside, the promoter, and he must be delighted by the manner in which this fight is turning out. Absolutely enthralling. How did you have that one?
Oh, that was a round for Abraham for me. I think he landed all the power shots. He just couldn't miss Stieglitz with that right hand. Stieglitz had his moments, but they just weren't sustained enough as they were in the round previous for me.
A lot of dialogue in the corner. Cornerman sounds like he's losing his voice a little tiny bit, struggling to make himself heard for his charge during each of these action-packed 3-minute rounds. The crowd have been given a real treat of contrasting efforts and styles here. Into the 8th in this WBO Super Middleweight title bout. And it's still either man's to win here. Robert Stieglitz in the red shorts, the title holder. Arthur Abraham performing on home turf. Yes, they're both adopted Germans, but this is Arthur Abraham's home patch, and this was supposed to be the glorious homecoming and a first world title at Super Middle. But Stieglitz is sticking to his work ethic, and he is still very much in the hunt for title defence number 7.
Well, you have to admire Stieglitz. He's taking the fight to Abraham. He's working very, very hard, throwing lots of punches. Abraham playing a bit of kidology.
Not once, but twice, Arthur Abraham lowers his guard, shrugs his shoulders, and says to Robert Stieglitz, "Is that all you've got?" It's certainly a brave tactic.
But that's fine. Stieglitz shouldn't be bothered with that. If he's got his hands down, just throw punches. You don't have to hurt him to win the fight. I picked Stieglitz to win this fight. I just all of a sudden have a horrible feeling that Abraham's going to catch him with a big right hand and knock him out all of a sudden. But at the moment, Stieglitz is holding his own. But I'm just looking at my card now. I think Stieglitz is winning the fight, but I actually have him level.
Well, to use a term of the illustrious boxing commentator John Rawling, you pays your money, you takes your choice. Every one of the 14,000 people in the O2 Arena in Berlin will have their own view as to how this fight is going to unfold. And just as we think Arthur Abraham is losing the upper hand, he comes back with a flurry. It is so delicately poised, this fight, and Abraham will believe he is very much still in this one. Not connecting with as many, but when he does, it's done with intent, and you can tell it stings.
Well, he just hit him with 3 cracking right hands, didn't he? I think he's landing with more punches than I thought he would have. Here he comes.
You just sensed for a moment there that Abraham felt it may be his chance to finish this here in the 8th round. The shoulders have been shrugged. He's played the mind games, and he's unleashed some really big shots in the middle section of this round. Stieglitz is going to have to hang on a little bit inside the last 25 seconds or so of this, the 8th round.
Well, Stieglitz thought that he would be, or I thought certainly that he would be up by 3 or 4 rounds at this stage, but I think it's level, and I think he's losing this round at the moment, Stieglitz.
Joe Cortez, the referee, just having a word just before they broke. And that, Barry, you were saying, is definitely a round for Arthur Abraham. This is unbelievably tight, and it's playing out exactly as their styles would have had us believe. But which one is going to break down first?
I tell you something, Abraham's corner will be delighted that he's, well, they'd be like that if he was just close to being still in the fight at the moment. But I have him 1 round ahead. And I tell you what, they must fancy this fight. And like I said, I picked Stieglitz to win this fight by a wide point margin. But I think I got a horrible feeling that I might be proven wrong and Abraham might knock him out in the next round or 2.
Well, it certainly looked at one stage in that 8th round as though Abraham could sense a big finish was imminent. Stieglitz took the pressure and hung on. But Abraham having the upper hand in that round psychologically as well as physically. Here we are then, into the 9th. Will there be a repeat of the mind games and the shoulder shrugging from Abraham? Will he go in hard and try and finish this one? They both must know how close this fight is at the moment. And what role can the crowd play as they sense that they are beginning to witness a bout here that will go down in German boxing history as one of the most fascinating, enthralling contests. There is a twist of drama still to come in this fight.
Well, I think Stieglitz has to come out with something special now. I think you would tend to think that this is Abraham's time of the fight, wouldn't you? This is where he's at his best, his strongest. So Stieglitz needs to really, hopefully get his 2nd win, which it looks like he may have, but he needs to sustain it now, and because I think his back's against the wall at the moment.
Well, you've been in these situations before, Barry, when you've taken this much punishment and you've had a work rate as high as this. No matter how fit you are, the last 4 rounds must hurt.
Yeah, thanks for saying I've taken a lot of punishment, first of all. But
well,
yeah.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. Oh, but this is where all the training comes in. This is where the resolve, your desire as a champion, as a fighter comes in, your will to win. But Stieglitz hasn't shown any flaws, you know. He still wants to fight, doesn't he? Still looking for openings, you know what I mean? His appetite for the fight is still great.
It is. The eye hasn't opened up, but there is a trickle of blood from the nose of Robert Stieglitz. We were watching the cut above his left eye a few rounds ago to see whether that may play a part in the bout. Could be something of nothing, but he is bloodied. and he is under pressure, but he's responding here. He's got Abraham in the corner, now on the ropes. Abraham rolls those big lumbering shoulders of his and backs his way out of the corner. And now Stieglitz tries to push him and boss him back into a tight spot.
Well, he's boxing well. He caught Abraham with a crushing right hand, and Abraham took it well.
And this is the point of the round at which Abraham likes to finish with a flurry to impress. Coming up to 30 seconds to go here in the ninth. This is so close. If you're watching this at home, you may not have made up your mind as to which way this is heading if it does go to points. Arthur Abraham trying to become a two-weight champion, and Robert Stieglitz is absolutely desperate to beat a big name. Well, this is his chance, and he's going to have to show some real heart if he's going to hang on to this WBO Super Middleweight crown that he is so very proud of.
Well, he is showing a lot of heart, isn't he? A lot of appetite for the fight, and I think, you know, as close as a round it is, I think that's a round for Stieglitz.
Well, we pause for breath. There are just 3 rounds remaining. Stieglitz.
That's the right hand there, Rob.
Yes, he got on the upper hand on this round and backed Arthur Abraham into a corner, a big right. And you sort of feel that he needed that round, really.
Well, he needed it to get back on track. He lost the last 2 rounds on my card before that, and also for his confidence and his a little bit of, you know, they give him a bit of a G up on. I think, you know, I'm back in. I've hurt it. I think he hurt Abraham. The way Abraham doesn't show it. Obviously got to get through with his own shot, but I think the better work and the more shots were thrown by Stieglitz, and that's a good round in the bag for him.
So, seconds out, my man. Let's go, let's go, let's go, says Joe Cortez. And 14,000 people in this arena hold their breath, waiting to see what will happen next and who will strike. They have already had more than their money's worth here. They called this the last chance. And this bout and these 2 men have delivered in tremendous style, both plotting their own routes, their own tactics, and their own way to try and win this proud battle of the adopted Germans. And there's still nothing in it. Can Arthur Abraham find the beast within, as George Groves described it, and unleash a volley that will bring to an end Robert Stieglitz's reign as the WBO Super Middle champion? Or will the work ethic of the younger man, arguably the hungrier man, pay off? And will Robert Stieglitz finally get the big scalp he's been dreaming of for the last 6 title defences?
Well, he started off quite positively again in this round also, hasn't he, Stieglitz? He's throwing his punches and just taking that little step back. And as I say it, Abraham's just caught with a cracking right hand. And again. I tell you something, Rob, sorry, mate. Joe Cortez has been very quiet. He's usually all over fighters.
He certainly has. I just noticed there, for the very first time, possibly a tiny sign of fatigue from Arthur Abraham. He just had a little blow there as they came together and hugged on the ropes. So maybe, just maybe, that big work ethic from Robert Stieglitz is beginning to take its toll a little bit. Cortez does step in there. He separates the 2 men and then says, right, OK, let's come back together. Now, is it the nose?
It gives Abraham a rest, though, doesn't it?
It's all right, it's all right. All right, come on.
Now, let's see, where is that blood coming from? There's a new cut.
All right, time in. Let's go.
Now, for a long time through this fight, there was a bruise above the left eye. Now there's a cut above the right eye of Robert Stieglitz. And Cortez took him over to his corner to make sure it was sorted out. So we have 2 eyes in danger of causing a problem for Robert Stieglitz. And Abraham will be sensing and closing in on the knowledge and the sight that he is hurting Robert Stieglitz.
You know what, Rob? I think you're right. I think Abraham is blowing a little bit, you know. And I think that rest, that little cut eye, which well, looks bad now, but didn't earlier on, that gave Abraham a nice little rest he needed. But yes, unusual, isn't it? He's usually flourishing in these sort of situations.
Well, maybe it's taken more out of him thus far than he would have anticipated. But there is definitely the sign of blood from that cut above the right eye of Robert Stieglitz, who was keen there to land the last blow in that round and say, I might be cut, I might be bloodied, but I am absolutely still in this fight. The corner have an anxious minute or so, not in this corner, but in the other one, as Abraham has a tired smile. They've got to get to work on that cut of Robert Stieglitz's.
Well, I think I gave that round to Stieglitz. It was a very close round. The last 4 rounds have been pretty much to go either way, haven't they? But I gave that round to Stieglitz definitely to me. And I think Abraham now needs to start showing what he always shows us in this stage of the fight, and that's tremendous pressure.
2 rounds to go. If this is his last chance, he has 6 minutes to make an impact here in the super middleweight division. It'll be interesting to see how quickly that cut opens up over the right eye of Robert Stieglitz. These are anxious moments from both corners. The crowd are responding to Arthur Abraham, but there is still life left in this world title fight.
But this is where Abraham now needs to get on the front foot, doesn't he? Now I think I have him a point behind with 2 rounds to go, so now he needs to get on that front foot, roll his shoulders, and throw that big right hand over the top.
Well, he's gone onto the ropes and shrugged his shoulders, and he's smiling, and the kidology is back. Not everything's getting through from Stieglitz, but he is pinning Arthur Abraham back. Little shuffle, drops his shoulders, goes in again. And the mind games continue here from Arthur Abraham as Stieglitz just carries on doing what he's been doing for the last 10.5 rounds, producing his work ethic. And now we see a rally from Arthur Abraham. The crowd respond as they go in for the hug. The hands are down from Abraham. Is he waiting to strike the killer shot? The crowd are desperate for him to produce something special, and still Stieglitz soaks it up and tries to get on the front foot and put the more powerful, more experienced man under pressure inside these last 2 rounds.
Well, the problem with scoring in this fight is that Stieglitz is doing more of the work in most of the rounds, but Abraham's shots are more concussive and probably the better quality. So it's how you call it and how you see it. And I think, you know, when I'm back and forth with what I think is better in each round, and I think Abraham's work is better so far in this round.
This fight is so close. If you were a betting man, you would not be sure where to place your money. But one thing is for certain, as they trade blows there, both heads go back. And now Abraham comes forward once again. Stieglitz hanging on, trying to get a breather, trying to get through the next 36 seconds and get to his corner to take it to a decider. Both these men have contributed to a magnificent bout of boxing. This is what is so special about this sport. It's why people around the boxing world, not just in Germany, have been talking about this one and looking forward to it for weeks. Abraham landing the shots. He's got the accuracy, and that eye is opening up once again for Robert Stieglitz. He is going to be anxious to get to the corner. They will come out for a last, a grimace for the WBO Super Middleweight champion. They get to work on that eye, and they will come out for the 12th and final round.
Yeah, for me that was an Abraham round again, tentatively for me that was, by the way. But they both look pretty tired. Obviously Stieglitz more marked up than Abraham, but I think it's pretty much all going to be on the championship round.
Do you see it in either direction at the moment, Barry? Or is it too close to call?
Well, you've got to think that maybe being at home and some of these rounds have been close, that Abraham probably were given some of the rounds that were close. So, no, I think Stieglitz needs a big round to win the fight.
Here we go. The crowd respond. This is the 12th and final round in the WBO Super Middleweight title fight. That so far looks as though it's going all the way. A sporting touch of gloves for the two adopted Germans. Robert Stieglitz going for a 7th defence of his beloved title, and Arthur Abraham, for so long so dominant at middleweight. Is this his moment and his chance to take a crown and take a night of glory at Super Middle? It's so close. Barry Jones is saying Stieglitz needs a big round to take this one, because he's on Arthur Abraham's patch, even though he is the defending champion. And such has been the pattern of this fight so far. The guard goes down, the mind games are played. Stieglitz comes in with a barrage of shots. They don't all connect with the same potency that they do from Arthur Abraham, but he is doing everything he can to play the game and give himself an opportunity of taking this title. The left eye is starting to close. He has taken a pounding, Robert Stieglitz, and now Arthur Abraham trying to come forward again.
Well, this is, I think Abraham must think he's miles ahead, because I think he's should be just putting tremendous pressure on Stieglitz right now. But Stieglitz is boxing well, and if he can summon it from anywhere, and he stayed very light on his feet, darting fast punches, forget about the power, in and out, and try and steal this round, and in my card then would win in the fight.
Inside the last minute and a half of this WBO Super Middleweight bout, Stieglitz, the defending champion, the left eye is closing fast. There's a cut above the right eye, and there's a look of menace in the eyes of Arthur Abraham. He looks from his body language as though he believes he's done enough to take this one on points. A minute to go. Is there a final sting in the tail from Arthur Abraham, or do we go to points? Now the crowd are cheering. He waves his right arm in the air to acknowledge the cheers, but the job isn't done yet. There's 40 seconds to go, and Robert Stieglitz is going to box his heart out as we approach 30 seconds to go in this bout. He is all but out on his feet. We haven't yet seen the knockout blow from Arthur Abraham. He's soaked up a barrage of shots from Robert Stieglitz, and still they're both trying to go forward, still both trying to prove a point to the ringside judges, who may well have the say as to where this title goes. And Stieglitz on the attack now. Abraham is on the ropes. He looks a bit exasperated, but Robert Stieglitz has boxed himself almost to a standstill here to try and give himself the chance, and that's it. Abraham's arm goes up, the crowd stands, and he believes, and they believe, he's done enough to wrestle this title away from Robert Stieglitz. But it is so close, and one thing's for certain, we had an absolute treat of a bout tonight, and we are now in the hands of the ringside judges.
Well, for me, I think Stieglitz won the fight. I gotta be honest, I think, you know, some of the rounds were close, and my favourite word, subjective, but for me, Stieglitz, just his work rate was just a little bit greater. I think Abraham relaxed in the last couple of rounds, but I thought he should have been putting on more pressure. So in being at home, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it by a landslide, but for me, Stieglitz a winner.
And look at that eye, that left eye, very bruised. There is no doubt there wasn't a single ounce of energy left in the tank from Robert Stieglitz. He's given it everything, and still the celebrations and the interaction with the crowd go on from Arthur Abraham, who believes he is once again a genuine world champion. That's the first time we've seen Stieglitz put his arms in the air, and you can see just how much attention this fight has generated in the German press. There was a shot of Robert Stieglitz's sister ringside just as the final bell went at the end of the 12th, and she didn't look too happy. Anxious moments for both men, surely, even though Abraham is going around with the demeanor of a man who believes he has just taken the world title away from Robert Stieglitz. It is his home patch, and this is the moment, the end of the fight, where they believe, Wilfred and Kari Sauerland, they believe that their man is once again a world champion. But Robert Stieglitz and his corner will also have good reason to believe that the judges will see his work rate and his intent and his desire means the title stays with the 31-year-old.
Well, for me, I have it 115, 114 to Stieglitz. Some of those rounds could have gone either way, or it could have been an even bigger margin for him, maybe, who knows. But you maybe feel that it's in being in Berlin that Abraham might get the nod. But either way, Rob, what a great little fight that was.
It was superb, and it was absolutely enthralling, because we know at his best how powerful Arthur Abraham can be, and you were constantly drawn to the fact that he wasn't landing as many punches as Robert Stieglitz, but when he did connect, there was real intent and power behind the shot, and we were waiting and wondering whether the killer blow would strike. It didn't, but were the judges impressed enough with the high percentage of connection shots that he produced? Well, this is the moment where we find out. Joe Cortez, flanked by two men who've just put on a brilliant show, but which one will end the night as WBO Super Middleweight Champion of the world?
Meine Damen und Herren, hier kommt das offizielle Urteil. Cesar Ramos aus Puerto Rico wertet den Kampf 116 zu 112, 116, 112. Noël Monet aus Montpellier, Frankreich, wertet den Kampf ebenfalls 116 zu 112, 116, 112 as well. And judge number 3, Rocky Young aus Miami, Florida, USA, wertet den Kampf 115 zu 113. Alle drei einstimmig für den Sieger dieses Gefechts und damit neuen Weltmeister im Super Middleweight-Version der
Arthur
WBO.
Abraham has been given the unanimous points decision. He is a two-weight champion, imperious at middleweight. He is now the WBO Super Middleweight Champion of the world, and how he had to earn that. What a night and what a moment. Robert Stieglitz brought an awful lot to the party. He's being consoled by his corner because he believes his work rate had justified him hanging on to the title for a 7th successive defence. And was there a look of emotion in the face of Arthur Abraham? There was showboating during the fight, and I think you could argue that this one means more to him than any of the other fights he's won in the past. People had started to write him off. They said it was last chance. Well, if it is, he's just opened up a new chapter in the career of Arthur Abraham. He is a two-weight champion, but Barry, he had to earn that every single step of the way.
Yeah, he fought his heart out. Stieglitz fought his heart out. I had Stieglitz winning by a round, but it wasn't a robbery. I think the scores were maybe a little bit wider than I would have thought, but it was a good fight. Stieglitz boxed well. He should be proud of himself. Maybe just his inability to get out of the way of punches was costing him the fight. Abraham, he's had a stay of execution with the elite boxers now in the super middleweight division, but he's not the force he was as a middleweight, and I think he won't. I don't think he beat anyone above this level. I think he might be found his level, and this is going to be it for him now.
Well, whatever the future holds for Arthur Abraham, he will always be able to look back on this as the night where he reminded everyone he still had the quality to become a world champion. And not just that, but at super middleweight. Not only imperious, one weight down, but now a man who will always be in the record books as a proven performer at 12 stone as well. A glorious night for him, a great bout of boxing to witness. That was simply a treat to watch.